Hi there, we're going to be going on to a Smartdoll bag today, or it could be a larger bag for one of your smaller dolls, or you can make it larger for one of your larger dolls. It is one of those patterns that can be manipulated quite a lot. So here is the little bag. You will see some pictures on the thumbnail of my Choo holding it. I've done it in these colours because I just wanted it to match some of the other things they'd got. And in this instance, I've done a chain handle. So I have some chain here. I have 2 lobster claw fasteners and I have 2 jump rings. Now you could just crochet a handle, you don't have to do it in chain. I just thought it was something different. I've also got a couple of pliers for that. Right, so let's move those to one side. Oh, there we go, and I've just knocked the camera. Right, I also have my yarn. I have got a 4-ply Peyton's 100% cotton again, because it's one of my favourites. I have a 3mm hook and of course my scissors, and I've got some needles off camera as well for sewing up, because we will need those as well. I just chose this as a contrast colour because I quite liked it. So again, you can make it however you want. So let's pop the little bag up there and let's get going with this pattern. Now we're going to be using what we call a V-stitch. Now, if you're familiar with that, you'll find this probably quite easy, but don't be scared if you're a beginner, because it's still not a hard stitch. I've changed mine slightly. A V-stitch is usually a treble, a chain and a treble, or sometimes 2 chain. But I'm going to do this in half trebles, but that's not a problem. It's exactly the same stitch. So let's undo my yarn a little bit so it flows. And we're going to start this whole process with 22 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, or should I say chain, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, I'll go a bit faster, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 2 more, 21, 22. So you've got your chain approximately the size of the bag required. You can always do more chain. Now the only thing is, for an actual V-stitch, quite often it is a multiple of 3 plus 1. Don't over worry about that, but if you did want to make it bigger, that is something you need to be aware of. Yes, 22 is not a multiple of 3, but it's 22 plus my 1 for my turning chain. So now we're going to just do a double crochet into each of those chain. Also, the beauty of this, after you get your first row out of the way, you're only working in a chain space, so it's quite easy. And we can manipulate this first row a little bit if your counting's not quite right. There's been plenty of times I've started something and you only have to miss 1 stitch for your counting not to be right. And if you're doing something like 300 stitches or something, and you've got all the way along on your second row, you don't want to undo it. So there is a way of getting away with it, so don't worry about it. I will mention that when we get. Right, it's curling a little bit, which it will do. That's not a problem. This doesn't have to be done in a cotton, of course, but I do think the cotton shows up nicely for you guys to actually see. So that is one of the reasons. Oh, it's curling up again. Get down there. That's one of the reasons I have actually chosen a cotton. Nearly there. Last one. Right, so pull that tight so you have the length of your little bag. My only concern is I've already done the other side, and for some reason when I went to clear up my hooks I found a 2.5mm hook, not a 3, and I've got a feeling I've gone and just picked up the stuff, done it quickly, and I've done it on a smaller hook, so I'm hoping they're going to actually match now, because I've done one side to sort of keep the time down for you guys, but basically you need 2 sides. The second side, which is this one, we don't fasten off at the end. Let me pop that down a minute. This is the other side, and that one is fastened off. Yeah, so you do fasten that one off. You don't fasten this one off because we're going to be crocheting the 2 together. Right, get onto this V-stitch, shall we? Now for my V-stitch, I need a straight stitch at each end. So one will be a 3 chain and one is going to be a half treble. A 2 chain, excuse me. So 1, 2, turn. That is the equivalent to a half treble. We're going to miss 2 stitches. 1, 2. Into the third one, we're going to do a half treble. Now remember, we have 3 on the hook. You can go through 2 and then 1 if you want, whichever works. We're going to do a chain, or if you're happy with it, you can just pull through all 3. It doesn't matter which way, as long as you are going through all 3 as one movement, not 2 separate ones. So we're going to miss 2, 1, 2, into number 3, 3 on the hook, remember, half treble, chain, half treble. It all goes into the 1 stitch. So can you see we get a little sort of V shape there? So that is what you're looking for. Right, we missed 2 again. So 1, 2, yarns round the hook, in we go, and pull it through all 3. And 1, and back in the same stitch. Miss 2, 1, 2, into the next one, half treble, chain, half treble. Miss 2 stitches, 1, 2, into the next one, half treble, 1 chain, and half treble. We're nearly at the end of the row. The second row is much easier because we're only going to be working in chain spaces, whereas we're picking up stitches at the moment. So 1, 2 into our third. We're going to do a half treble, a chain, and a half treble. Oh, I nearly did a treble there. So picking up the last one's a little bit difficult because it's where we turn, but I think I've got it. So have a little fight pulling it through, and a half treble. Now I'm just going to stop there a second, and I'm going to grab a piece of paper. Oh, I nearly knocked everything off then. That's not good. This is actually the back of a pattern I'm going to be using, but I just wanted to just quickly explain something. When I'm referring to in 1 stitch, if we pretend this is our stitch, yeah, we're going to do a half treble, a chain, and a half treble into it. So this is our half treble, and this is our chain. And when I'm referring to a V stitch in this particular pattern, this is my V stitch. So obviously it makes that shape. So we have a V or an upside down triangle, however you want to think about it. But that is what I'm referring to every time I say half treble, chain, half treble equals your V stitch. Yep. Now, could be trebles. You will get a lot of patterns that they are trebles, but we're just doing half trebles in this particular situation. So I'll pop that to one side. We've now got, well, I did, should I say, 7 rows. Now that includes, I think, let me double check. Doesn't it? It's 7 more rows than I've already got here. So we're now going to be going into the chain spaces. So you can see where our V's are. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 V's, a chain, and a half treble. Those are where we're working. So this time, 2 chain. I keep wanting to say 3. I've got to stop it. Now you can see our V there. Yeah, so it's where the chain space is. We're going to yarn wrap, and we're going to do a V stitch. So our V stitch is half treble, chain, half treble, all in the same space. Jump to the next V stitch in the middle, V stitch, oh, or not, chain, and V stitch. And again, next one, it's always going to be the same. So it's half treble, chain, and V, making our V stitch. So half treble, chain, half treble, all into that previous row's V stitch. And each row is going to be that. That is all it is. It makes a nice texture. It's quite a nice solid pattern as well. Again, don't worry how you do your half treble, whether you do it in all the way through in a chain, or if you do it a 2 and a 1. It doesn't matter, it's still the same stitch, whatever makes it more comfortable for you and avoid any splitting. Right, we're going to do a half treble into the top of the equivalent of those 2 chain. There we go. So that is the start of our thing. So that is 1 row. I've got my pen and paper there, just marking it down. So we have 1, 2 chain to turn. Can you see the V stitch? This one here, in we go, half treble, chain, half treble. I'm going to speed up a little bit now. If you want to stop, pause, or move forward until I finish this bit, by all means do so. So as I say, 7 rows. So this is our second. So off we go. I think the thing is though, for visuals, half treble might be a little bit more difficult because it does look like you're doing more than you actually are. Especially the weird way I do it. We're doing the 2 and a 1. Don't forget that chain in the middle, I nearly did. So I'm just going into every single V-stitch from the previous row into the chain space, because we did 1 chain, didn't we, in between, so it's counted as the chain space. Now at the end here, remember that 2 chains here, so we need to do a half treble into the top of it. There we go. So that is 2. We have another 5. Of course you can do the bag as long or as short as you want. So we got 1, 2, turn into our chain space with a half treble, a chain and a half treble. It's exactly the same. Every single row until we get to the colour change is the same. Oh, look, be careful. Can you see I nearly went into there because my eye was drawn to a space and I wanted to go in there, and it's not, it's here. Must be between those 2 half trebles. Even though sometimes it feels like you're jumping a bit, it will settle out. So only in the chain spaces, not anywhere else. The pen and my wool got tangled then. Into the chain space, half treble, nearly split, chain and a half treble. Next one, half treble, chain, half treble. And remember, don't forget this little 2 chain. It's only little, it's very easy to miss it, and we need to do our half treble in it. So that was our 3. It's quite a quick little bag when you get going. As soon as you get used to what the V-stitch is, if you're not already used to them, you will fly through it. In fact, hopefully you'll like the stitch. I like the stitch quite a lot. I think it makes a real nice design. Wants to split a bit. This cotton unfortunately does have the tendency to do that, but it also is not forgiving, so you can't afford to split it because it will show something terrible. So if you think you have split it, I would always undo my work. I certainly wouldn't sort of make it for somebody else. If it did split, I'd undo and start again. Only maybe a row or 2, because obviously you can straighten your yarn out and get going again. Did I do a chain there? I think I did. If we don't do that 1 chain in between, it will throw our numbers. Right, we've got to get into the top. And so sometimes it takes a bit of digging of that little 2 chain there. So how many is that? That's 4. We're nearly there. I'm hoping it's not coming out bigger than the other one. Otherwise I'm in a very lopsided bag, but I'll have to show it you and carry on with it because remember I did my 2 chain there and set off. Right, only in these V-stitches. Into the wool a bit. You could do this in a slightly fluffier yarn. I had thought about that. I've got some yarn that's got a little bit of more texture to it. Like I say, a bit of fluff. It's not overly fluffy. But the problem being is I think you'd struggle to see it on the screen. So I thought the cotton was the best option. Oh, and my foot. I was trying to put my foot on the chair then and it just slipped right into the top of that 2 chain with a half treble. We have 5. We only have 2 more, as you can see. It's building up nicely now. One, 2. I'm hoping to do some of this design for my tinier dolls, for my Cindy's, or Cindy size. Obviously it's a bag, it can be any fashion doll, can't it really? So V-stitch into top of each V-stitch. The only thing when you're making for Cindy that's an issue is the head. If you're making hats, because she has a much larger head than your basic fashion doll. So I do have to make 2 different sizes if people are wanting for Barbie, or my A-Zone Pure Nemo is Barbie size head as well. But Cindy has a slightly larger head. We are almost there. I keep trying to look in the monitor. I'm hoping this doesn't look too confusing. I don't think so. It shouldn't do. Right, last row. V-stitch in each V-stitch. It's making a noise as it's going across the paper. You probably can't hear that. Backing it like a paper. It's like a textured background screen. As I'm moving my hand, I can hear it sort of like scratching slightly. I hope you can't hear it, otherwise it will sound a bit weird. So we're on our last row, and we're also on our last V-stitch. Or not, there we go. So that's our last stitch for our V-stitch, and remember that little 2, we need a half treble at the end. Now remember, do not fasten off. I haven't fastened off. I've got it still attached, and then I'm going to look for my other side, which is here. Let's see. It is slightly smaller. I'm pretty sure I've actually done it on that 2.5 hook, but for demonstration purposes we're going to have to go with the flow. Obviously that's the bottom, this is the front. You can see it's slightly flatter. That's the back where it's a little bit bumpier. So I want both right sides facing outwards. I'm going to have to stretch that a bit to make it fit. Oh well, I'll have to make another side afterwards. Now they're both side by side. Yep, and we're going to be crocheting them together. Now remember, these were 2 chains, weren't they, or a half treble. So in theory, each little space you can go in with 2 double crochets. Sometimes it works this, sometimes it doesn't. So we're going to do 1 chain because I want to turn like a corner. I'm going to go in, can you see I've just picked up through the space, and I'm going to do double crochet, double crochet. I am moving on to my next space, which if you stretch it a bit you can see it, which is here. I'm making sure I pick up this space on the other side, and I'm going to go double crochet, double crochet, and I'm going to do the same again. Look, you see that one's quite easy to see, can you see? So sometimes they're easy to see, sometimes they're not. So I'm going to do that in every single one of the spaces. I'm putting 2 double crochets in, and we're not messing about having to pick up stitches then, because it's really hard when you've got a side piece to pick up stitches. Now if you want, you can sort of stitch these in as you go, but I'll leave it and we'll do them afterwards. So 2, and the last one, and 2. Now we're going on to double crochets here now, so it'll feel, oh, it's actually the chain, isn't it, from when you first started. So I'm going to do 1 chain because I need to get around this corner a bit, and then we're going to pick up both sides. You see both sides, and double crochet into every single one of them. Again, with a cotton you can see it better. If you're using an acrylic yarn, sometimes it's a little bit of a stab in the dark and hope it works. Yeah, it's definitely made a difference just using a 2.5mm hook, although it does on the other side where I did it wrong, but it does show you can do it with a smaller hook and it looks quite comfortable, so you can sort of play around with your sizing then. It's always a bit of a fight on these chain bits. I much prefer going in the side bits, it makes life much easier. We're almost there though, we've only got a couple more stitches. I think 1 more. We have to go round a corner, so I'm going to do a chain. You could do just multiple double crochets in that corner, but I'm going to go with a chain. And we're going to go 2, lining them up into 2 double crochets into each of the spaces. Did I do 2 or 1? I did 2. Yep, I did 2. So 1, 2, 1, 2. We're almost there. 1, 2. Oh, I nearly went into the wrong one then. Make sure you do keep them lined up because it will make a difference. And because there is one very at the top there, and I nearly went in that one instead. And now I can say I can fasten it off because we're going to go on to our other colour. So ideally we need to sew in all these ends. That'll only take a second, so I will get rid of them. Don't need to worry about these bottom ones, I don't think. So, needle time. Yeah, that one will do. So for sewing these in, I think when you've crocheted something together, you can sort of see, I class that as the front, where you've got the sort of chain facing, and I would class that as the back. So I'm just going to thread this piece of yarn all the way through, right to the bottom, straighten it out, and fasten it off. Be careful you don't fasten the wrong, cut the wrong one there, because there is another one there. And I'm going to do the same with the other one. I will sew in the bottoms later. I just wanted to get these out the way because we're going to be picking up around the top. What time are we on? 21 minutes. Okay. I think this bag then could be, what, 45 minutes, an hour. Obviously I've been talking more than you would normally be doing, so it does take a little bit longer. So that is the back, because I think that's the lumpier bit. This is the front, because I like to see the chain going down the sides and everywhere. So we're going to pick up on an end, but I need to pick up, can you see this chain at top? I need to pick that up as well. Yeah, so I'll just put my hook through that a second. I'm grabbing my other yarn. Again, you don't have to have a contrast, I've just chosen to. Yarn is around, and I'm going to pull it through. Okay, now if you look now, we know where our V's are, don't we? Because we did our other V stitches in. But you can see the looks, it's not actually a space, is it? But it looks like there's a space. We're going to go into that one as well. But we're going to do 2 in that first one, because it's an end. We're going to go into the V-stitch, we're going to go into the space between the V-stitches, V-stitch, space, V-stitch, space. These are all double crochets, nice and easy to go into because it's just going in spaces. We're almost on my last one, but for my last one, can you see, because that back's a little bit shorter, it's going to make it a bit difficult now. I'm going to do 2 in this one. And I'm going to go, you know your chain here, I'm going to go into that as well. Yeah. And then I'm also going to go 2 stitches in the first one. And then 1 in the V-stitch, 1 in the space, all the way along. V-stitch, space, V-stitch. Because if you don't do that, those extras at either end, it pulls it in. You can see it does pull it in a little bit anyway, but if you miss that, it pulls it in too much. It looks a bit weird. I tried that earlier. So it's just 1 double crochet into every space and into every V-stitch. Right, we're back to the beginning now, so you do need to be a bit careful. If you sort of flatten it out like that, you can sort of see where you're going. So we've got 1 more there. In fact, because it's an end one, it's 2, so at each end's the 2. I can then pick up the first one. Okay, so we're just going to do a double crochet round all the way around. It's just going to be 1 double crochet into each, but it's quite clear now where everything is, so I'm not going to go slowly. I'm just going to get on with it. You work at your own pace. If you're sort of feeling it's a little bit fast, please slow it down in the settings, or you can sort of just pause me now, because you know it's going to be one of the same stitch in every stitch. You can pop round while I'm paused and then unpause it when you're ready for the next section. Oh, there's a stitch there. I nearly missed it. This lamp feels very warm today. It's a little bit closer to me. I don't know why I've put it so close than it normally is. And it feels a bit warm. I feel it heating my head up. I don't think that's a good idea. We're almost round. It's definitely short on that one side. Only by millimetres, but it's enough to affect its size. Right, can you see we're almost round? Last couple of stitches, and I would say that's it. Right, we're now going to do 4 double crochets. So 1, 2, 3 and 4. We're now going to do 6 chain. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We're going to miss 6 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and into number 7 we're going to do a double crochet. And we're going to do another 3. 1, 2, 3. You see what I've done? This is getting ready for the handle. Yeah. So we're now onto the other side. Now I've sometimes found I've got an extra number here when I've done it. So what I'm going to say to you is I've found it every time it's been 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. I don't know why it's 5. Right, so if we look, what you need, can you see the other side? You need this to be lining up with this. So if you put it like that, that one's going to go there. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. So we're about right. Doesn't feel like it is, but you are. So 6 chain. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. Miss 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 into number 7. And just double crochet around to the beginning again. Now we're going to do 1 double crochet into every stitch and the chain space, but on the chain space we're going to actually do 10. I think I did 8 on mine, but I think it could have done with a couple more, so I'm going to do 10 this time. So just double crochet into every stitch. This is your last round. Don't need to count them, just go for it. In the chain space, so we're going into the space now, we're going to do 10 stitches. Keep them tight because it will look sloppy if you don't. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh, nearly. 8. Can be a bit hard to hold this. 9. Can you see mine's gone a bit funny? Just spread it along. 9. And 1 more. 10. Now I'm actually also going to go into this here, which sort of doesn't look like a stitch, but I'm going into it, and then carry on double crochet around every stitch till we get round to the other handle. There we go. So 1 more into the handle. 10. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4. It feels a bit loose when you're trying to do it. 5, 6, keep moving it. 7, try not to go over the others. 8, 9 and 10. And then we're just going to be doing a double crochet till we get back to the beginning. So don't forget that one there. 1, last stitch. I'm going to do a slip stitch join. You don't have to. And we're going to fasten off. So we have a few ends to sew in there, but nothing major. Quite easy to sew in with the cotton, but you do have to make sure you thoroughly sew in because it does have a tendency to lose its shape. Right, so to me, remember this was the front. Yeah, I think the 10 is given a little bit more definition here rather than the 8. So you can see the shape a little bit better. Mine's pulling a bit, you can see there, but that is because that is smaller than that because of the mistake I made. Now, as far as the chain is concerned, I'm going to pop the bag to one side. It does want its ends sewing in, but I just want to just quickly do this. If you're used to doing a little bit of jewellery making, this will be easy. I can't find my exact pliers. In fact, I don't even know why I've got that one, because I don't like that one. I need that one. And what I'm wanting is 2 flat-nosed or flat pliers. I don't know what the proper terms are, but they're both flat. Yeah, that's a round one. Don't want that. Move that to one side. So, undoing a jump ring. It is a knack on its own. Obviously, there is a little gap in your jump ring. So, this is how I was shown to do it. So, you might know a better way. So, you can see that is where the split is. I'm going to take both sides, you see it, and twist. So, I'm twisting it along the same axis, not just spreading it open. I'm going to slide on. I need to move that round a bit now. Just drop that. Move it round a bit. I'm going to slide on my lobster claw. And then hopefully I've made the gap big enough. I don't know whether I have. I'm going to try and slide that on. And I've not made the gap big enough. Oh, I have. I've done it. So we've got both of them. I'm still trying to hold on to this. So I'm going to take this back again. And just push it back into place. So that's my lobster claw on one end. So basically we have our jump ring and we split it that way. Slide on our lobster claw. Old jewellery from junk shops is a great way of doing this. Junk shops, charity shops, whatever. Don't know why I called it a junk shop. We don't really have junk shops here. And slide it back together. It doesn't warp the jump ring doing it that way around. So basically, I have a chain on each end. And because it's a lobster claw, it just opens. And you can just slot it on. You can take it off, take it on, whatever you want. It's a good way. Make sure you get it in sort of solid there. I didn't get it in very well there. It's a good way of maybe just adding to other bags you've got as well. So if you've got a different type of bag, all you need to do is make sure you've got a little hole or a little area where you can sort of slide it in, and you can have different chains on different bags. You could change your colours. You could do all sorts from there. So it's sort of quite nice to be able to change your sort of look around. So I'm going to take that off a minute. Careful, it's catching because I've got bits to sew in, haven't I? Which perhaps I should have sewn it in first. It would have been a good idea. So apart from that, we'll bring the one in I've made. I'll sort that one out because obviously I've got to change it completely because the back is the wrong size. But essentially, this is the little bag. You can make the chain longer, you can make it shorter, you can do it without, as I've just said. So it's just a little handbag. Entirely up to you what you do with it. So I hope you enjoyed that. You will see some pictures of Chitozy with it on the thumbnail, so that gives you an idea what it looks like with the doll. Thank you very much for joining me. Please like, subscribe and share. It's been lovely to do this for everybody, and hope it was something that you enjoyed, and hope to see you very soon. Click on that notification bell if you're wanting any other information or updates on my next videos, and I will see you very soon. Bye.